music. Party's not a party's a man who fights crime, and we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time with John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Attention, citizens of Fair Gotham. We're back once again with more Bat Minute Forever, the show that smashes Joel Schumacher's wonderful masterpiece to pieces, 1 minute at a time. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And here to finally unravel a riddle that has mystified me for about 25 years now. It's me, Niall McGowan, here to talk about what the hell is going on in this minute. What happens at the end of this? What is happening? What's going on?
I think we could talk about this for 4 hours, and I'm not sure we'll get to the bottom of that. But, you know, we will get there. We will. We're joined once again by our very, very super amazing special guests of the week. We've got Kiri and Omar back once again.
Yeah!
Yay. Y5.
Yeah.
That was a good term. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, by all means. There's a whole hand motion that goes with it where, like, you hit your forearm with your other hand as your hand would have normally hit someone else's hand, but it's purely audio, so that probably isn't translating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, one day I will film Angelique and I doing this, because we do it all the time. One day it will be Wife 5, and I'm very excited for that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Ooh. This is minute 111. We got the triple ones there, everybody. Oh my God, how have we got this far now? What's happening? A lot of movies would have finished by now.
I was very surprised how long this movie was, to be honest.
Well, do you agree with me, right? Because when we started off, you know, of course, I watched this once again to prepare. And I noticed the time, and I was like, oh God, it's long. I didn't remember this. But when I actually watched it and finished, it flew by.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Like, it definitely flew by. I just remember when you gave us, like, you're like, okay, because you're going to do 109 through 111, and I'm just like, that's got to be, like, the credits, though, right? Like, what? There's nothing left. Like, what is happening?
Right.
And then when we got to it, I was like, oh, my God. They don't get to this point until 109, and actually just, like, the entire structure of this movie is so strange to me. Like, just looking at, like, what the halfway... Like, oh, I made a note of it, and I've forgotten it, because I'm a fool. But, like, the halfway point was going, this is your halfway point?
No, I was going to say, actually, because we're coming in here, we were mid line of dialogue there. Because it was like, you know, Bruce's love, or the Dark Knight's junior partner. And that moment is actually a piece of film history that you just witnessed right there. Did anyone care to hazard a guess why?
Because it's now the first time it's ever been talked about on a Movies by Minutes podcast.
Yeah,
there is
that's
that
it.
as well. If you want to go in a Natalie Portman in Garden State kind of way, yes, that's. But no. As far as I can tell, that is the first time that Batman has been referred to as the Dark Knight in a live-action movie.
No way.
Never called that in 89, never called that in Returns. Well, they would never bring it up in the 60s show, because they're like, well, he's not the Dark Knight in that. He's the Bright Knight, for God's sake. I believe this is the first time that, and Jim Carrey gets to utter the first utterance of the Dark Knight as a term to use for Batman.
What?
And our other special guest today, Jim Carrey, everybody.
Hey, Jim, it's nice to see you here. Hello.
I did it. Yeah.
It's me, Jim Carrey. You sound like Matthew Perry. I know, I do. It's crazy. Could I be any more Jim Carrey?
They are remarkably similar, and I'd never noticed.
But in that vein, though, I just thought, you know, for the sake of research, I just looked up when did the Dark Knight come into parlance in the comics, and it's actually traced right back to the start. Literally Batman #1. He's having a fight with the Joker, gets kicked out of a car, and the narration boxes, they're constantly calling him Batman. So obviously they have to think of something else. So then they go, the Dark Knight, you know. And then in Batman issue #2, apparently, they tried to switch it to the Black Knight.
Okay.
And I guess because they're just like, well, he's not got any black on him. Like, he's blue and gray. So
Right.
that didn't go anywhere. And then as the comics move out of the noirish tone into the Silver Age, the Caped Crusader comes into parlance much more than the Dark Knight. But then, in talking about it, just in the other episode, Joel Schumacher tragically passed away recently, who also tragically passed away recently in the same month, actually. I think it's crazy that these two guys died in such close proximity. But the infamous Batman writer, Denny O'Neil,
Yeah.
he came on in the 70s, and he was a big fan of calling him the Dark Knight Detective. And that became a
Right.
big thing with his version of Batman. And that goes on to influence Frank Miller, who then, in the 1980s, he comes out with, people forget now, but it was originally published as a miniseries called Batman the Dark Knight. And the first issue was called The Dark Knight Returns, then you had The Dark Knight Triumphant, then Hunt the Dark Knight, and then The Dark Knight Falls. And then, reprints after that, it became The Dark Knight Returns, as people know that now. But yeah, and then now the reason people know him as the Dark Knight nowadays, why it's so popular, is because of Denny O'Neil and then Frank Miller going, oh, I like that, I'm going to call my book this. So there you go. Friggin' Chris Nolan again, hitting upon the great idea of just been like, let's not call it Batman 2. Let's call it The Dark Knight. And as a Batman fan, when I heard that in like 2006, 2007, I was like, that is the coolest fucking title you could ever call a Batman movie.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool title for a movie, let's be honest.
Until I went to France in the summer of 2008, and I saw the posters for The Dark Knight, where he was referred to as Le Chevalier Noir. And I was like, that's even cooler. Jesus Christ, they did.
Noir, yes.
Yeah.
I like it.
You just make him French.
French Batman. I need it. I mean, we've already...
I am here.
On the Listener's Cave, we've already been talking about how I very much want to see Seal just step into the role of Batman, but now we could make a French one instead.
I do kind of want to see, like, where is the trigger? Where is it? You would not have given it to another citizen.
I like the way your impression is kind of like Steve Martin doing the Pink Panther movies.
Not even Peter Sellers. Steve Martin.
No.
I don't even hit the high of Pete Sellers.
You have like a batarang go down and knock like a gun out of a thug's hand, and then you have the camera pan up. You see him in silhouette, but he's like, instead of like standing there ready to jump down, he's leaning against a building, and he just brings a cigarette up, and you see the plume, and it's just like,
Yes.
you know what, sucker? You are what makes Paris so terrible. It's not the rats, it's people like you. I don't know.
The people then be like, the biggest change that the French made to Batman was he kept calling people sucker all the time. It was like 80 years of comics, he never did that. But the French were like, yeah, this is what our version of the guy's like.
That's his catchphrase in France, right?
I blame John Mulaney imitating his French bulldog. That is specifically where that is from. I apologize.
Oh, I like the way we're 13 minutes in and I haven't actually started with the first thing.
I'm so sorry.
So, no, that's that. I genuinely like that. It's great. That's our bread and butter around here. But we are back as Chase and Robin. They're still in danger, as we briefly alluded to there. Who will live and who will die? Batman must choose. And that immediately made me think, I hope someone knows what I'm talking about on the call. I know Niall probably won't. Of the Walking Dead game.
Yes.
Because
The Telltale game,
there's
is that correct?
constantly decisions. Pick if this person lives. Pick if that person lives. Like, oh, you've got 5 seconds to decide. And no matter what you pick, you annoy somebody. Somebody's upset, and they'll try and murder you.
Can't win them all. Yep.
Telltale games in general, or
Yeah.
Or,
I let someone's kid die because I was saving a different kid. It's like, Jesus. You can't get angry at me. There was only time to save one kid.
I think like the most, it's the whole this action will have consequences thing that'll come up, or like so and so will remember this, where it just gives
that's
you
terrifying.
endless anxiety because it might not even be a bad thing, but it just lets you know, like, by the way, this is gonna come back and bite you somehow. And you're like, God
It's
damn it.
weird that it tells you, isn't it? I have to go and get a drink and pause the game after. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
John means he has to go out to a bar.
They
and
all do that.
Give me the strongest thing you got.
And people come in, and the bartender slings his little rag over his shoulder. He's like, Walking Dead again? John's like, yes, damn it.
Life is Strange did that too, where it's just, this action will have consequences, and you're like, I know that. And now I just think of that every now and then when I'm really anxious about something that I was like, okay, I need to make a decision that's kind of big. I'll just think of like, this action will have consequences. I'm like,
Yeah, that's
damn it.
terrible.
Because now we're hurtling towards the finale of what Batman's big saving grace moment is going to be here. And one point I do like at the point he points out Edward's bull plop here of just going like, well, no matter what answer I give, there's no way to save me or them or myself. This is all one giant death trap. Which is true.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not as if he goes, okay, Chase, and then he kills Dick, and then it's like, well, see ya, Batman. Like, oh, you're free to go.
Right.
Like, it's...
Yeah, he's got to hand her over and be like, yeah, there you go. You chose wisely.
Yeah.
See you. Bye.
But it's just like, yeah, it just seems like, no, the Batman's 100% correct. It's like, there's no way anyone is designed to get out of here alive.
Oh, but wouldn't that be great? Like, if it was very much like, I'm opening this up for you, Omar, so that you remember to do this. If it was like an Indiana Jones like thing, like Dick Grayson drops down, you just see you chose poorly, and then you find out Chase Meridian was in on it the whole time, and she's like evil. But also, yeah, right? Like it just becomes like a oh no.
Again, though, Chris Nolan would toy about that with that in The Dark Knight, though, where it'd be like, oh, you chose this person, I'm gonna kill the other person.
Right.
What are you doing?
That is clever the way they do it in that one, though.
Yeah. Although I remember people in the audience being confused, though, of being like, did he just go to the wrong place or something? Like, what's going on here?
I don't know.
I
Yes.
remember being in the theater for that, and people were just like, "Oh, Batman's dumb." And, no, that's not. No.
Yeah, it's one of those that I don't think I picked up on until I watched it a couple of times. Like, oh, that's what's happened. Okay.
Oh no, I was hardcore into The Dark Knight when it came out, so I was every little bit. I was like, I know what's happening here. Like I was analyzing every little moment of that because I was very you wouldn't be able to tell that I would be one of the hosts of a Bat Minutes podcast a mere decade later. But
Genius.
But one thing actually though, I'll have to throw this over to the Americans in the room here because there's a little reference here to like a touchstone of American TV where. The Riddler then goes like, wrong. Your answer must be in the form of a question, but thank you for playing. Which is in reference to Jeopardy, I understand. Which is a show I only know through movies and TV referring to Jeopardy.
It wasn't really big here, was it? I think it was on the TV, but it was like random channels at like times a day you were at school. It wasn't on like normal.
Apparently it's on Netflix now. They have Jeopardy on the UK Netflix, and it's got like the Seth Wilson collection and the Cindy Stowell collection, and I'm like, that means nothing to me. I don't know who these people are. Like,
I get the premise of the game because I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, I've seen this a couple of times, where it's like you get the answer and you have to say what the question is, like it's flipped it.
Yeah. Let's see what I looked up. Well, Jeopardy, I was happy to see that it ends with an exclamation mark. So it could be covered in the side podcast, I Do Declare, where we look at all media that ends with an exclamation mark.
I think you should legitimately start this show now.
Oh, yeah, I think I might well do now after this season. It's like, well, I might as well fill the time with something. But yeah, apparently it was actually created by Merv Griffith's wife. When they were on a plane and they were trying to think of a new quiz show after the quiz show scandals of the 1950s.
Oh yeah, where we were like,
Scandals?
we're actually very smart, and then it was like, no, you cheat, right? Those
Yeah,
scandals,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
It was a whole big thing where they just found out that like the producers were rigidly controlling.
So we could look smarter than like the Soviet Union at the time or something. Is that right?
something like that. Yeah.
Oh my god, that wouldn't surprise me. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so
Apparently,
funny.
it also went the other way with Dr. Joyce Brothers because she became quite famous after. But she won the $64,000 question, and apparently the producers really didn't want her to win it, so they were choosing like way too difficult questions, thinking she would never get it, and she did. And she was like, "Yeah, well, I beat the system, I guess."
Oh
but,
my god, that's okay. Well, damn.
Well, it's a bit like the controversy here over the last few years, where that guy won Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and then the makers of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire tried to say he was cheating, and there was this guy in the audience supplying him with answers, and they provided video evidence of it, and you can hear him coughing at weird moments and things. But then in his defense, his lawyers are like, well, you've enhanced the audio and done all this, like, you're not showing the unedited audio. It's a whole thing. I think it's still going on, isn't it?
Oh.
But I know there's also, because I've been looking for, like, I think I've been given a lot of Batman Forever the benefit of the doubt, like with choices in the decor and the mise en scène. I'm like, I think there's more going on in this movie. I'm wondering if they chose Jeopardy in particular because there is double Jeopardy, and there's a whole thing going on in this movie between split personalities and doubles and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
But because I've never seen Jeopardy, I don't know what double Jeopardy is. I'm just like...
Is that in the show? I thought that was just one of those stupid legal things.
Like, double Jeopardy was like it was a I'm going off of what I remember from like watching my grandparents watch it, so forgive me. It was like sort of their lightning round, essentially, if I recall correctly.
It's kind of a thing where like, so you get like you can get Jeopardy where out of nowhere, if you can bet, like you can essentially like bet all the money you have, right?
Oh,
and then that's
like
Jeopardy.
Doubling down kind of.
And then like with double Jeopardy, it's like double or nothing, but you also risk like being in the hole if you get it wrong, and you don't know what the question is yet. So it's just like, how good do you know 18th century books? Those people are
I want a
nerds,
new
so-
idea where you can go into the negative, so you owe the show money.
Yes, I do think that should be an aspect of the program.
you owe us $52,000.
That's Simpsons. Like, again, one of the few references to Jeopardy I know is like, yeah, Marge going on Jeopardy, and then afterwards, Alex Trebek been like, "Where do you think you're going, Marge? You owe us $15,000." Like, what? Then the guy
that might be why it came to mind.
Oh my god.
But then Nygma, he goes to press this button he's got, presumably to kill both of them. But he's stopped in his tracks by an intriguing proposition, isn't he? Batman's got a riddle for him, the Riddler.
I think, too, I really have to emphasize these points coming up to the end of this movie, because this is, I love this scene. Like, whatever's going on, it's kind of stupid and stuff, but I do love, because we're not going to get any of this in Batman and Robin. There are no good scenes where I'm like, this is done really well. This is like, none of that in that film.
Right.
So I have to cling on to these moments while I can. I've been like, I love this build-up. I love the whole, wait, I have a riddle for you. Like, for me?
Right.
Really? And all that, like, and just the music is like, I love this. This is good filmmaking right here. That you've made me invest in this ridiculous situation with this ridiculous actor in this ridiculous outfit, sitting on a ridiculous throne and stuff. Also, really love the fact too when Edward Nygma goes and splays himself across his the Thinker throne.
Sitting in a bisexual manner, because bisexual people cannot sit in chairs.
No, we can sit in chairs.
To tell Hollywood.
Just because it's not how it's, maybe initially intended. That's sitting.
Sort of. Sitting
You're
in
at
a
rest.
bisexual manner.
But it also reminded me of like some kind of like Renaissance painting. We see them splayed out over couches and stuff.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering because like we've noticed little things throughout with Edward Nygma where like, of course, when he was choosing his outfit, he had his head on top of the statue of David and stuff. The fact that he's even sitting on a throne made of the Thinker was another Grecian statue and stuff. And there's loads of Grecian statues throughout Gotham and all this kind of business. The fact now that in his final moments, he kind of looks as if he's almost, he could be a statue in the little pose he's doing. Is this supposed to be the indication that in his mind he has become the legend that he hoped to emulate? Like he was picturing himself as these statuesque figures, and now he believes he's there. And the fact that they're Grecian statues at Gotham, and Gotham was an inherently corrupt city that's just tortured with supervillains, is an indication that yes, the Riddler has now finally become one of those as well. Or again, am I giving Batman Forever way too much credit? And it's just that Jim Carrey is like, this is the only comfortable way to sit in this goddamn outfit because it's skin tight and it's covered in rhinestones and it's a pain in the ass.
And it looks wacky to sit that way.
Yeah.
I will argue both because I think it is godlike appearance by way of convenience, and I think that's perfect for the Riddler. You kind of just fall into that role of just like, how do I sit in this chair? This clothing hurts. It's all tough. And they go in there, and then suddenly you're like, you're the Thinker. you're a Rodin. That's amazing. Don't move.
Yeah.
I really thought I still have a little headcanon where like Edward Nygma at some point was like, much like friggin' Joaquin Phoenix in The Joker, where he was like flipping that little arrow as a clown, and that's how that all started in that movie.
Right.
That Edward Nygma was also like a sign flipper, and that's why he's taking it with him right to the top. And that's what all the Kane's about. Because he just can't friggin' stop himself. It's every 5 seconds. It's just like twirling around his neck. Just every little flourish he has to do. And you know, fine rightly, Tommy Lee Jones probably hated him even more because there's like 25 takes of like, Kane didn't land right, Jim. Or he banged it off his own knee. Or it's like, we gotta go do it again. It's like, trust me, Tommy, it'll be worth it at the end of the day. And Tommy Lee Jones is just standing there saying nothing.
You're right.
Nothing to do in the scene. Just been like, I f***ing hate this guy.
You already have the coverage of me gasping. Yeah.
He's trying not to knock him out at every opportunity.
Because all he does, Two-Face again, this should have been a scene of like, maybe they start appealing to the Harvey Dent side. Maybe he'll turn against the Riddler. Something to do with Two-Face here. But he just stands with his arms folded.
Yeah.
Just like he is a mannequin. Just like,
yeah.
I am also here. Here I am. You know,
that is
like,
so funny. Yeah, you're right. He's just stuck there. Where like Jim Carrey is doing these like insane stunts and tricks and really just showing off. And it's like imagine it's Jackie Chan level stuff with this cane.
Yeah.
There has to be 100 takes per flip to make sure you get it right. This is intense stuff.
Yeah.
Now I want to see him fighting with the cane, like Jackie Chan would fight with a cane.
Oh my god!
Because you know Jackie Chan would be flipping that thing up in the air with his foot and smacking people with it, and it'd be amazing.
We'll also say too that I did reference this when I appeared on Mad Max Minutes because they had written an outro for me when I was there, and they're like, "Oh, we have an outro for you to say," and I did do like a little for me. Really? I don't think that they got it, but it was there as a reference.
Oh my gosh, it's right there though. That's so good. Yeah, I really do enjoy the turn. There's something very delicious about a lot of these performances, and I feel like we get to the Riddler's one right here. And it is so funny. I'm just so distracted by the idea of Tommy Lee Jones just standing there. That's it. Period.
Literally just standing there.
He's like, I just won an Oscar. What the hell am I doing? And now they're having to go to the Foley guys. Can you find us a sound effect of a cane sliding along a guy's back, but it's covered in rhinestones? Like, yeah. Tom, are you okay? You want a drink? Or I'm like, no, goddamn, just get it over with, for Christ's sake.
Oh, I could imagine Two-Face to just stand there drinking whiskeys.
Yes.
He's a whiskey man, or a brandy, maybe.
Well, they had his drink earlier, wasn't it? Sterno. I believe he was Sterno.
Oh, yeah.
Grain alcohol.
That's right.
That's what he was drinking.
Oh,
That's the wild side. What about the Harvey side? I think Harvey would be a whiskey or a brandy man.
We didn't see enough of Harvey, to be honest. Frustrating because, like, he has no reaction to finding out Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same person, and I think that would have been a very interesting moment to have that be like a moment where Harvey and Two-Face are sort of fighting, because Bruce Wayne was Harvey's friend.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing of like, oh, but you were there for me and you did everything you could for me, but also you're my enemy. And like, I think Two-Face should have been the factor that Riddler couldn't plan for.
yes.
Yeah, that should be what brings him down.
He's never a variable. Like, he's a constant. I find that really frustrating. You could have had a lot of fun with that, with like, you've got this guy who's, you've made it where like, oh, he's got all these plans, he's got all these plots, he's so smart. But then not really taking into account his partner is literally a variable that even his partner can't count on.
Oh, yeah, perfect. It's right there. But
Just be like, bah, foiled.
that they kind of forget as well, because the whole reason Chase Meridian came to Gotham was to look at Two-Face. Like at the beginning, at the bank, she's like, yeah, I'm here, I'm psychoanalyst, criminal psychologist, and about Two-Face, I know about this guy. So you feel in these moments here when Chase Meridian's been held captive by the Riddler, should she not be going to Two-Face? Like, Harvey, like, what's your end game in all this? What are you hoping to get out of this? And you're like, well, I want to kill Batman. Well, why do you want to
Find
kill
out
Batman?
she's not actually a psychiatrist.
Yeah, but there could have been a scene of her trying to reach out to Harvey Dent and been like, look, I am supposed to be a therapist. I can see that you're a wacko.
It's a technical term, that. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm a professional.
And I just, oh my gosh, like
Then of course Dick Grayson, he also gets captured, and because Chase Meridian described her like what teenage guys that she used to fancy, like leather jackets, earrings, and all this other stuff.
They're all him.
That's just old Dick Grayson. So the two of them start flirting, and the Riddler's is like, "All right, enough. Get them in the tubes. Get out some rope, for Christ's sake. Let's just stop this whole thing. Nobody ruin my big plan. All right, I've been rehearsing my cane twirling all week."
They got too much in common. Tie his hands behind, tie hers in the front. Okay, let's just.
Yeah, there you go. Now they're different.
Good.
And then, of course, he has to go, so what is this? Some kind of tube?
Yeah.
Oh,
That was for Niall.
I would have liked more order with Riddler, oddly enough. Like the ordered chaos of everything I do is orchestrated, and because that's really what a riddle is, isn't it? It's like obfuscating something that should be very clear, just to throw you off by describing it in sort of roundabout ways. And wouldn't that have been so nice to have? Literally, you've got order and chaos because you've got Two-Face, who cannot be predictable, and then you have the Riddler, who's kind of coming at things in sort of like artsy but very logical ways, and maybe like what he can't understand is that sort of primal part of humanity, which also links to things that are like, if you're gonna look down on people with that weird, like, I don't know, kink shaming, I don't know, we can't even call it that, like, you want to have sex, but like that whole like, I can't identify with this thought process of like emotions or something. Like there's so much I think that this combo could have been, and I think that's actually my biggest frustration with this movie is I see its potential and its refusal to live up to it.
That's been our thing, all season. It's like, this movie could be one of the best things you've ever seen, and it's all there. It's ready to go, and they keep messing it up.
Yeah, they didn't take any of those roads. They're just like, blah, and you're like, all right.
That's even more frustrating too, because like, everything you're saying, that's great, Gary. It's like, why couldn't you have been there in like 1993 when they were starting to write?
Well, I'm sorry, I was 4.
How
maybe?
dare you.
I don't know.
But like, that's also too, because this Riddler and Two-Face never get like an end button. Like, Penguin and Catwoman had a final kind of thing where they're like, oh, goodbye, my beloved, go to heaven, and all that sort of stuff. But these two guys, despite despising each other off screen, they had great chemistry to me.
Yes.
Like, I thought as actors on stage, they were doing great stuff together. They worked. And it's a shame that, like, this scene, they never have a little final moment where, like, Riddler says something to Two-Face and he responds back to him. Just as a final line between them. It just kind of is like, we're wrapping this up, Jim, you do your thing. Tommy, you stand there. And then we're done. And then he's gonna throw this ring batarang, and that's going to be the end of the whole goddamn movie. It really does feel like they were filming everything sequentially, and they're just like, it comes out in 2 weeks. We got to wrap this thing up, baby. Come on.
They're like,
just get the damn
just
movie done.
flipping through the script, and they're just like, can't wait for the next scene. And then it's like, the acting bit where you're like, highlighter, looking for the highlighting bit, looking for the highlighting. Oh no. Oh no. There's no highlighting lines. What?
One of the other things, though, that they didn't utilize to full effect for me either, and we mentioned it in the previous minute, but I will say they did have a kind of legacy afterwards, is Sugar and Spice.
Yes.
Because this is kind of like, they feature for a brief second in the next minute, but this is kind of last you ever see of them until they popped up in like one of those Arkham comics like years and years later. But they did kind of have a legacy in the comics in a weird way, not through characters called Sugar and Spice, but through the Riddler's own henchwomen, Query and Echo.
Ooh.
People might not recall, in the mid-90s, actually very specifically in 1995 when Batman Forever came out, the Riddler suddenly had henchwomen, just out of nowhere. It was a thing that was briefly brought up. The characters of, what were they called? Like, they were called something else. Query and Probe. They were briefly mentioned in the comic Secret Origins Special Volume 2 in 1989, and they were created by Neil Gaiman, of all people. He mentioned Riddler having sidekicks that he was like, two random women he hangs out with. But then, of course, 95 rolls around, and people are familiar with the iconography of Batman Forever, and they're like, can you work something like that into the comics, I guess? And so there's a lot of Riddler stuff and a lot of Two-Face stuff come out that year. And of course, then you get Chuck Dixon. He comes out with the DC Annual Number 8, Volume 1 in July of 95, which is, of course, when just 1 month after Batman Forever comes out. And the storyline Questions Multiply the Mystery, where you get, Query and Echo. Huh? And, their brief origin is Deirdre Vance and Nina Damfino were once employees of Pandora's Box, an underground dominatrix club. So, again, very sugar and spice.
Mm-hmm.
Before banding together as 2 biker women robbing small convenience stores. One night, as they attempted to rob a store, they bumped into an unfortunate customer and forced him to surrender the goods. That customer was none other than the Riddler, who too was breaking into the same store. The Riddler was just starting his criminal career and was looking for thugs for hire. And after seeing these 2 kindred souls, he immediately hired them, and then he named them Query and Echo. And you can just kind of see, like, that's obviously like, we'll give him. He was with Sugar and Spice, kinda. We'll do, kind of like a thing like that in the comics. And I think they lasted like a year, maybe.
Uh-huh.
And then, after a while, this just disappeared into the ether. I think the mentions of them briefly is in the odd comic, but they were kind of forever lost to time, unfortunately. But they had like fishnet stockings, green and purple leotards with question marks. One of them wore a police person's cap. One had short black spiky hair, all this kind of stuff. But so Sugar and Spice tragically wasted in this movie.
No.
Query and Echo got a little bit of life. They were the spawn of Sugar and Spice, I guess, but
not the same.
That was a name I was called as like a supposed insult in my junior high years.
You are joking.
No.
But Query?
That's not an insult. That's
Query.
not funny.
Oh, I get it. Query. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I'm absolutely serious. But I thought it was funny because I'm like, but I'm very curious. Like, so I'm like, this isn't really the insult I think you think it is.
Yeah.
But okay. But I don't think they understood a query was a question.
Right.
Oh.
I think, I think they just meant it as like, because you're queer. Because
I was once again giving them the benefit of the doubt when you first said it. I was like, because curiosity. No. Oh, I get that. Oh, these are like bullies with wit. And now I realize, no, that's not what you're saying.
No, they're just trying to be dicks. But I thought it was one of those things where I'm going, it didn't stick because I wasn't bothered by it. But there was like a week or two where like it came out and like, ooh, and I was just like, it really just sounds like you're saying I'm very inquisitive, and so
it sounds
cool. I'm okay with it. Thanks.
That's a great name.
Maybe I'm not come to terms with my sexuality yet, but whatever.
If you want to revamp Curiosity, there you go.
There you go.
Curiosity.
I'll just make it extra gay, and then boom. Welcome to Query.
That's great.
Actually, isn't there a podcast called Curiosity though?
If there isn't, there should be, and now
I'm sure there is. Let me look that up. Hang on. Live on the air.
Just be like, hey, my name's Kiri. I'd love to come on and talk to you. What's up?
There's definitely a cabaret show called that.
That's amazing.
And podcast Curiosity.
It's like a label for some stuff.
Right?
Oh, there's loads of things.
I like that we're all looking at it now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's anyone's game. I feel like it's anyone's game.
Youthspeaks.org. Okay.
Oh, no, this I'm mixing up the podcast with something else because this podcast that's called that last did an episode in 2017. So I've definitely not listened to that.
See, now I wish I'd had this idea prior to June because now I'll just have like maybe I'll have a Curiosity month where we like go into like gay history and gay icons.
Well, it is next year.
We've got Mental Health Month, and then we'll have welcome to Curiosity.
Yeah.
I say I would encourage you, Kiri Callaghan, to put a pin in that, and then
I shall put a pin in that for later.
That's the new catchphrase of Batman. It's not everything's connected. It's put a pin in it.
I'm just stealing that from Kiri Callaghan.
So many people have said it before me. I didn't actually realize how often I said it until people started making fun of, like, teasing me about it. And I was like, I guess I do say that a lot.
Well, the reason I was fine with us stealing it now, though, is because we already stole Everything's Connected, basically.
Dun, dun, dun.
But, of course, now I feel like we must come to the elephant in the room here of what happens next in this minute. Because
wait, hang on. Have we talked about the riddle yet?
Oh, no. Sorry, no. Actually, yeah. Sorry. My mistake. Go on.
It just dawned on me. We didn't actually discuss the actual riddle.
Pretty good riddle, right? How do we feel about the riddle?
Is it? I think the riddle was just literally a blatant, I'm wasting time so I can get my batarang ready, because he's literally, that's like asking, like, I spy with my little eye something bat-shaped.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about yourself.
No, it's true, because Niall knows how bad I am at riddles, and I got this. So there you go.
I do really wish there was a moment, though, because when the Riddler does the whole, like, please, you're as blind as a bat. Like, Two-Face was standing like, hey, wait a minute, I didn't get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Give me a second.
Give me a
It's
chance.
like that
give me a
Simpsons
chance.
episode where Lisa can't get the puzzle on the box.
Yeah. Right.
And even then, like, at the end, he didn't hear the answer, too, because it was just too confused. And he's just like, on that girl, he's like, by the way, what was the answer to the riddle? There's too much going on, I didn't hear you.
So the riddle is, I see without seeing. To me, darkness is as clear as daylight. What am I?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it's a good line. You wonder how...
It's a distraction, because he's getting his batarang out and whatnot, and he's getting ready to throw it.
It's cool to say, though. But at the same time, how far in advance did he know was he going in like, I got a bat riddle. I got one bat riddle.
I need to get
Yeah.
that.
That's the only reason I put these things over my eyes. It's just because I could deliver that and it would be relevant to him. You know? But as we hurtle towards that, though, because, basically, delivers this riddle. The answer is, you're as blind as a bat. And he says, precisely. Flips a button. Things come down over his eyes. He takes out an even bigger batarang than usual, and then just throws it at the giant thing on the roof, and it blows up, and that's the Riddler defeated. And it's like, I get that, but why does he have to put a thing over his eyes?
I don't. So he can see in the dark. I don't know.
That's it. Yeah. It's to see in the dark. It's night vision, because that's the light. I mean, there are lots of other lights, so it doesn't make much sense. Yeah.
And plus the thing's the size of the roof. How the hell's he going to miss it? Like, it's huge.
It's such a weird, like, okay, and this is how we win. And I'm like, really? There's a lot of build up to a whole lot of nothing.
The thing is, again, though, because my major problem is that, there's no, like, he puts on a little, this is supposed to be a sonar suit.
Yes.
So he's supposed to be using sonar here to throw this thing. You could argue that the swirling lights were maybe getting in his eyes, and that's why he wouldn't have been able to hit. But then the thing is still the size of the roof. It's huge. Like, there's no way you would miss it anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. I always thought it was because he's going to break it, and then the room will be dark, so he's prepping, like, so he can see. But the other lights don't go off.
No.
Like, it's not powering them.
No. And
If it was, that would make sense.
also thing that bugs me a little bit, because, again, Chris Nolan would use a little sonar device in The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a little eyelid thing that came down, but he had the sense...
Because he's a thief.
Yeah. But he had the sense to make them white, because Batman has white eyes in the comic, so that's what you do there.
Mm-hmm.
And Joel Schumacher, it looks like the old Sega cartridges, the boxes. You used to have a little grid like that. I was like, oh yeah, it's like an old Sega. But is it the Sega tie-in to this or something? What the hell's going on? But,
On the Mega Drive, or what's it called in America? The Genesis.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's like he's listening to like synthwave. Is what's happening. He's got his own soundtrack. We couldn't get the rights to it. You know how it is with the Tron soundtrack. So he's just gonna listen to it on his own. You'll all just have to like imagine the rest for yourselves.
Yeah, he's getting in there.
Someone please cut in the Tron music.
Yeah. Oh, the Drive soundtrack. Get that going there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Night Driver or whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's a reference to that kind of thing anyway, so yeah, that works.
Yeah. But here, the thing is, though, again, because all the potential is here, and it's as if someone else was looking at this movie and it's like, oh, we could just take that idea. And because there's a way to fix the scene where, to me, it plays way better. Is, you have a device here that the box can manipulate brainwaves and can make you see things that aren't there and make you think you're going crazy and stuff like that. It's presenting a lot of illusions and mysterious things. And making you go like, oh, I can't even trust my own senses. And so then Batman putting up a little thing where he blinds himself. So he has to trust his sonar.
Yes.
So he can then detect where the actual threat has come from. If he was been, like, Matrix Reloaded style, been bombarded with weird riddlers running at him or something.
Oh,
and he had to discover, like, which one is the correct one. What am I actually aiming at? Maybe just the little things like, you can't really see what's going on up around the box. So he's like, he has to trust the beeping of it, and that's why he's using the echolocation to just aim at that sound. But the thing is, that idea was used in Spider-Man Far From Home just last year, where Peter Parker came up against Mysterio, who he couldn't trust anything he was seeing, and so then he had to hone his spider sense to go, that's where the threat is, and then he can take him down and stuff. And it's like, you could have done it, but they didn't, and it's just a shame.
I feel like it would have worked better in this film where it placed in there than in Spider-Man, because in Spider-Man there's like the moment, and like talk about like, I understood the Dark Knight stuff, but like I was a little confused in Spider-Man, like what changed that made Peter, like his Peter Tingle came back, and because he was just like, you know what, I got it. Whereas in this you have the mechanic of Batman has the gadgets. So when it is like a Riddler face-off where the Riddler is just like, you can't trust anything, Batman. Who is it? Who is it? And then Batman's just like, I've got gadgets. And then the things come down, on the cowl, and he's like, it's you. And then just chucks like a batarang into his arm. Like, it's baked into the story. That's not bad at all.
And it's just, now, as a child, I was confused watching this. 25 years later, I'm still like, here I am, Joel. And sadly, Joel's passed away now, so he'll never hear this. So I can be like, what the hell was going on?
I know, I've never thought about it, to be honest. I think because it's moving so fast, I've never sort of paused. Now I'm gonna have to wait till the next minute, because like I watched this before we started, but otherwise I'm going minute by minute. So, I can't think what happens next.
I think that's what they were hoping. It was like, just edit it really quickly. And so people won't question it. They won't question that, like, the other movies had their weird endings and stuff where, like, grappling hook on the Joker's leg attached to a gargoyle, or, a grotesque.
A grotesque, get it right.
Yeah, cause him to fall down, or, like, Batman hacked the Penguin's signal, and so all those penguins that he was sending on, Batman's brought them right back home, and he's fallen into the friggin' thing and all that sort of stuff. Great, but this is just like, throw Batarang at thing. Yeah. And that's it. That's the ending.
Yep.
There's no... Coming up against the most... Is that the message of the movie? Like, you're up against the most intelligent, the most cerebral of Batman villains, and the message is, might makes right.
That's the message of the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. 100%.
It ruins the plot of the Emperor where he's defeated by love, because in this one you've got to defeat him with 2 lightsabers, not 1.
Yeah, and just more. He's just Rey's just got more stuff behind her. And this is just like, all you have to do is break his toy, and that's it. He's done.
But I will say, Batman does give the Riddler a chance to answer, and that's what's so funny about the math of this scene to me, is that we know that all Batman has to do is just chuck the Batarang and it's over. But Batman asks, hey, I've got a riddle for you, and then goes through the entire thing and lets Riddler get it, and then destroys it, whereas like Batman could just be like, oh yeah, these two? Oh, that's not good. Boom, Batarang. I'm not going to risk it. This is ridiculous.
But where's the theatrics in that?
That's why I feel like that's why Batman's like, I kind of hope this doesn't work. A little bit. I kind of want to keep this going. I got no plans. So
he likes having a villain.
Yeah.
Well, the Goldsman draft actually has even more sort of theatrics, I think. It's a bit more over the top. I won't go through the whole thing, because this section is very different in the Goldsman draft.
Interesting.
But Riddler, Batman calls Riddler a monster. And he says, you flatter me. No monster, just the Riddler. And here's yours. And he gives him a riddle. He's like, what is without taste or sound, all around, but can't be found? And Batman very quickly figures it out, actually. He says, death. Death. Without taste, sound, and all around us. Because there is no way for me to save them or myself. This is one giant death trap. So it's kind of similar. And then Riddler comes in. Excellent, see? Who says a guy in a rubber suit can't be smart? Well, it's been grand. Sorry you all have to die now. And he hits his skull button thing and screeches, it says. But then Batman looks up. And above the big antenna, he spies a flying giant monarch bat gliding across the night sky.
What?
And that's what gives him this idea, like, be like the bat.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be tied in. I don't know if you guys have ever seen, because there's a lot of cut scenes from this movie, but one of the famous images people will see was that they built a giant animatronic bat, that was supposed to be like when Bruce confronts his past. You see when he's in the cave, he sees this giant bat flying towards him. There was a scene where Val Kilmer goes back into that cave and he sees this giant proper monster bat with red eyes, and he kind of holds up his hands to it, and the camera does like a spin, like the Matrix around them and stuff. I can imagine that was probably meant to tie into that, to be like, oh, it's a little bit of extra inspiration. He sees that bat again, to remember to be himself or whatever, or to. But then if you take that bat out, there's no point in having that there at all. Otherwise, it's just like
right.
There's a giant bat that was Man Bat showing up. What the hell's going on with it?
I've got some more villains to fight. All right, this one's over. Yeah.
Man Bat coming to a movie soon.
Yeah.
But he does.
It'll happen.
He hits the ceiling with the batarang, and that brings me to the Indiana Jones attraction trivia bonanza.
Finally.
So when you round the corner after you have made everything go terrible in Indiana Jones, and your Jeep is just like shuddering back and forth, you see the temple before you, and a giant beam of green flies past your vehicle. And you hear the sound of crushing rocks. And originally, they had a conveyor belt that would drop ice every time a Jeep went by, so it was like rocks falling.
Oh.
But that's so much water that conveyor belt rusted.
Oh. They didn't make it out of something that doesn't rust.
I am not surprised by that. That ride has so many different little working bits. I think it breaks down more than any other ride because there's so many different little things that can happen. And they don't all happen every ride, apparently. Like, and not just because they're broken down. Like, it's programmed to be like, okay, this is where you're going to see this and this. And,
it's different each time you go on.
Yeah, just a little bit different. That's what I mean. It's very complicated, and I'm wondering why they have not updated it at this point.
I feel like they changed. I feel like they smoothed the wrinkles out of this one. But when you're going in, you're going in different entrances.
Yeah.
And what they did is they just have this like rotating moving wall that
you're not actually
like
going in a different door, but it looks like you might be going in the third door or like the first or second, but it's the wall that moves to make it look like you're going in different doors.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. The whole mechanics behind it is fascinating, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we need to maybe close it down for a year, or maybe do it right now since no one's really going anywhere. Just streamline its mechanics, like update it like hell.
Oh, I want to go on it so much. We don't have cool things like that in the UK. Here, a ride is it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
That's fair. It spoiled me. I don't enjoy roller coasters as much anymore, I've noticed. Like, I'm not scared of them.
Oh,
and, we went to... Sorry.
I'm too scared. I can't go on.
Oh, no. See, we went to Six Flags once since I moved to California, and I was so unimpressed, and I felt like such a privileged mother because I was just kind of one, they do not do lines like even Universal does. So it's like you're standing in this very hot, cramped line.
Yes.
And there's no shade. There's like Disney makes sure that there's like water and a trash can every 30 feet. And it like Six Flags, I remember there was like a vending machine every 30 feet. And I was like, you. Like, I just want a drinking fountain. You know what I mean? And like you'd get on the ride and it would basically, it's a roller coaster that would try to, the goal I think was to try to make you throw up essentially. Because it would just throw you around. And
perfect.
I'm like, where's my story? Like, I wanted like something to look at, and I was just kind of getting a little bored. And then my poor friend, who's very much like you, who she loves roller coasters, but they also scare the shit out of her. I think that was what made it really fun. Is we got on one that I can't remember what it was called. They all have weird ass names, but it went upside down and all around and all this, and she started blood curdling scream. Oh. And I had never heard her make this noise before, and I thought it was the funniest thing I had ever heard. So she was screaming and then I was laughing. And that I think was like the best experience I had, was just because I'd never heard that sound come out of her before.
Weirdly tying in the minute though, at the very end.
Yeah.
The scream coming out of the Riddler is like, that ain't Jim Carrey. That's right? Like some stock scream they found.
It's horrifying.
Yeah. I thought it was actually like they upped the tempo of it was one of those famous screams, not the Wilhelm scream.
Right.
I think
Wouldn't it have been great if it was, though? If just randomly at the end, like they used that. Oh,
But there's another stock scream apparently called the Howie, which most people remember from the beginning of Real Monsters.
oh my god!
Oh my god, that's what that is.
That is a beautiful callback.
Yeah, I wonder if they just just upped it a little bit to make it a little higher. And I was like, yeah, you can mess around with that.
I personally identified with Ickis a lot throughout my life.
Aw.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was always weirded out because at the same time Rugrats was on, and you were very well aware of like that's the same voice from Chucky is coming over. It just sounds like the same person. It was weird.
What was it? Ickis, Crumb, and who was the other one?
Oh, I can't remember now. It's been a long time. Where's the reboot of that? Where's there no Real Monsters come
the
back?
lovely the lady ones.
Yeah, she was
The
cool
giant
too.
lips.
She looked like a candy
looking
cane.
this up.
Yes. I am
Is it
pulling it up.
Oblina?
Aka?
Ooh.
I guess Aka. No, that's not
No,
it.
Aka, because that was Shelley
where is
Duvall.
she? Yeah.
Which is a fun little thing.
Crumbler. She's the tall one with the lips. I'm seeing a picture of her. Where
Candy
is she?
cane with lips, yeah.
Yeah.
What? Why is she not appearing? Like, I just Googled this, and she's, like, not listed as one of the first monsters.
Oblina? Oblina?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it, but she is the person. She's voiced by Christine Kavanagh. I don't know how to pronounce her name
Oblina.
because it's been too long.
Yeah.
Which is weird. You'd think she'd be more oblong-like with a name like that. But that's fine.
That's why she's a monster. She's not the right shape.
I don't have to deal with your whole logic.
So that's our next podcast, Niall. We're going through Real Monsters episode by episode.
After we did that Beetlejuice commentary, I was like, could we just go through the Beetlejuice cartoon as well? Just as like, cause it's been years since I've seen it. It's like, I wonder if it stands up. It was so strange as a concept. So it's like, that's an excuse for this. Yeah, it's like, this is content now. We're just going through that show. Just because
I have only one memory of that whole thing, and it was they were doing a Rockstar episode. And someone's like, oh, let me tease your hair. And Beetlejuice goes like, here, I've got it. And he starts making fun of the hair. And I remember thinking as a child that was the funniest fucking thing.
That's
it is.
amazing.
Just like, oh, hair, what are you doing with your life? And I'm like, I get it.
But as Niall alluded to, if listeners want to hear us talk about the movie Beetlejuice, give us money on Patreon because we have a commentary track.
Yeah. Tons of fun. The most upsetting thing about it was the fact that at the end you're like, oh, the movie's over now. We have to stop talking about it because I could talk about Beetlejuice for friggin' hours. So, but yeah, we get that very unnatural scream coming from the Riddler. Sadly, I was pitching that the new Wilhelm scream should be Tommy Lee Jones's scream from the previous scene where he goes, his weird Tarzan thing falling off. They could have just recycled that audio, but tragically not. And yeah, that's it. Now the box is blowing up. People are running around. The Riddler has been defeated within 6 seconds. So
See you, everybody.
but yeah, I'm. Well, that's the thing. Like, at this time of the week, we usually ask the guests about their history with the movie. Like, do you remember? Do you have very fond memories of Batman Forever, or was it a major part of your lives in any way?
How about you, Kiri? Why don't you go first?
Why are you deferring to me all the time?
Fine. Yes. Loved it as a kid. Yeah, it was one of those, because I feel like in my family, if there was a movie that we could all see, we just referenced it and never stopped. And so that was this was one of those films. And then as time went on, it was just like one of those, we were like, this is a lot of choices. There's a lot of very creative choices that come from somewhere, and we couldn't quite place it. So in that, we were just like, this is great.
Somewhere deep inside.
I remember being very uncomfortable with Jim Carrey's performance as a child. Like, especially when he's pre-Riddler.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a very good point.
I was very uncomfortable. Like, obviously I did not have the words for it. So I actually did not really like this movie as a kid because he made me a little creeped out. And like looking at him like, oh, because you have no personal space and all that jazz. And like, you are really genuinely creepy at the beginning of this film and oddly become less creepy once you have your skin tight bodysuit. I'm not sure what that's about.
Yeah, he's
But-
bad enough to begin with, isn't he? Before he's a
Right?
villain, he's a villain.
He's just that guy that you're like, no.
Yeah, he'd be creepy to women in the office, I think.
Oh, definitely. He's creepy to Ed Bagley Jr., poor soul. Who's a very tall and pleasant man from what I know, but like,
I get the impression as well. He nowadays, if you did it, you'd make him a bit more kind of like the Joker in the new Joker movie. He'd be like an incel.
Right, yeah.
He already is. It's just you don't see him try to interact with any women, and that would be all you have to do is have one scene of him trying to flirt with someone and get really angry when he gets rejected, and there you go. It writes itself, really. But
Yeah.
I do have my current pitch going on now with we got this friggin' news that Keaton's coming back apparently to do a new movie.
Yeah.
But I do kind of secretly hope, because the continuity of these movies is all over the goddamn place, but Jim Carrey channeling creepy, and as an older man now, where he is kind of creepy in general almost now when
Yeah.
you see him. I say you can't bring back the Joker because he's dead in the continuity. Friggin' have Michael Keaton come back as Batman, and hey, have your Dark Knight Returns movie, but Jim Carrey's the Riddler reappears.
Why not?
You never have to reference the box or anything like that. You could just be like, no, he did a bunch of stuff, and you just never saw it because it was in the intervening years. And there you go. You can have Jim Carrey back, maybe not in the skin tight suit, but in the suit.
We want to see it.
Yeah, and then he could do it now. He could do that manic thing, but it's still really creepy and just like he could, I think, give the guy another swing of the cane, as it were.
I think in general, and this is sort of a big thought just on the film to wrap up sort of the 3 minutes, from my angle. I think this movie is having a huge renaissance, and I know that Joel Schumacher recently passed away as at the time of this recording. But like I feel like even right before that, because I saw a lot of people posting on Twitter, they're like, you know what, those movies are actually great. I love that they take huge swings and that they're not like uninteresting films. That like these were defining films that we had the privilege of being like, ugh, whatever about. But I don't know. I feel like this era of Batman, since we went so grimdark for such a long time and everything became Bourne Identity, that we get to kind of look back, and it's so far in the back now where we're just like, I missed good times. Mostly
It's nice to have fun.
Exactly. It's nice to have fun. It's nice that Batman's like, I'm going to give you a riddle. Now, I could have stopped this literally the second I stepped in the building. But let's get those emotions. You got all this thing. She put on that outfit. She put on that outfit. I don't want to yin and yang. So let's just go ahead and.
It's like clearly you have been rehearsing with that cane, and I just want to get in your final little twirls there. All right, I see what you're doing.
You did your vocal warm ups. I don't want to get I don't want to interrupt this. So, but I do feel, and I do like that. I feel like that says something very great about us, that we are at a point now where like we're not like thrashing a fun movie for being fun. We're just like, yeah, great, good, yeah. Yeah.
Especially because there's other Batman movies. You want a dark one? You've got it.
Exactly.
Oh, well, before we do head off into the dark night, we'll have to wrap up with some plugs because something is coming, right? the finale is coming. So who should go? Omar, you go first because Kiri went last time. What do you want to plug?
I am Omar Najam. You can find me at Omar Najam on Twitter. And also check out Thank You for Questing, a podcast where we play an RPG that we make up on the spot. There's no book. We make it up. We make some rules. We break them. If you know Chris Bramante, he at one point he was like, by the way, my character's immortal. And I was like, okay, well, that's... Well, shoot. Okay, that's very good to know. Thank you. And then at the very end of the series, he killed the character.
Oh!
And he was like, and he becomes stars. And I was like, the immortal character? Great. Okay, so next. That's the kind of zaniness you can expect.
That's not dying. That's transcending.
That is true. Now, had Chris said that...
It's
He could have pulled a full Mr. Megorium and be like, light bulbs die, I will depart.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
And Kiri, what would you like to promote, if anything?
My name is Kiri Callaghan. You can find me all over the internet, on Twitter, on Patreon. I do lots of things. I just finished the first draft of my second book, which, if you are a patron, you can currently get the sneak peek on that. I also do videos on the YouTubes, but I've been slacking lately, hoping to get back to that. And yeah,
Woohoo.
That's me right now.
Check all of that out and come and speak to us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you know the deal. Patreon, and come and buy a t-shirt on our TeePublic because it's all wonderful. Or buy a mask if the pandemic is still happening as you're listening to this. It probably is, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Probably is. Buy a mask. We sold... have we sold a mask? I think we might have done. So they're cool. And Omar, right, because you did not get the riddle. You are up for extermination. For your life, heads or tails?
Heads.
Okay, heads to save
Wait,
Omar's
but
life.
how do you prove it?
You just got to take my word for it. I want you to live. We want you back next season. So Here we go. Ooh. Dun, dun, dun. I'm sorry, it's tails.
No!
Throw him down the pit.
Into my personal favorite, watery grave. Again, it was still swinging into Matthew Perry there.
Oh my
Can't help it.
gosh. As long as no one knows that I like Saturday morning cartoons, I'll be okay.
As long as that doesn't make it to the air. Niall, should we cut that? We should probably cut that out of respect for, we're about to kill you. I mean, we should probably honor your last wish. So throw him down the pit, and we will be back on Monday with more Bat Minute Forever.
Next time, a box office bomb. There's combustion and calamity in Riddler's castle of insanity, and sidekicks flee, and the Bat claims a victory. But while the monarch of mystery's mind is melted by his own devilish device, can the push of a button place both a plunging partner and plummeting paramour on ice? Find out next week. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.